folks, welcome to Connecticut Chestnuts, Your Orchard Series, Part 1, Pick Your Land. In this episode, we're going to talk mostly about soil samples and is your land dry enough or does it drain well enough to support a chestnut orchard. So if you're going to start a chestnut orchard, the first thing you have to do is align yourself with a good quality soil sample lab. The one on the screen here is an example of a poor quality result sheet. You need more information than this. Well, this report does give you the pH, and that is the most important thing you're looking for right now. It doesn't give you enough detailed information about your other nutrients that are in the ground. It does give you a report on phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. That's not enough detailed information for growing a chestnut orchard. This is a sample of a quality soil test. This gives you the nutrient levels as well as the pH and your NPK. This is what you're going to need to actually raise an orchard effectively. You want your pH to come in somewhere between 5.5 and 6.8. But if it's any higher than that, you want to rethink your choice of raising chestnuts on that property. While it is possible to lower your pH with the use of sulfur, it's a temporary fix, and you don't want to be doing that for the next 30 years. To get a quality soil sample, simply take a clean 5-gallon bucket out with a trowel or a shovel and dig down through the turf or whatever's on top and try to pull 1 sample per acre. You only need a handful of soil from each site. Then mix all your samples together in that bucket, mix them up well, and get them in a plastic baggie. The drier they are when you send them to the lab, the quicker they'll come back because they have to completely dry them before they can test them. They only need a couple ounces of this mixture, and I try not to touch it with my hands before getting it in a baggie and shipping it off to them. To find a quality lab that you can work with, start with your local university if they have an ag department, and see if they will do soil samples either for pay or for free. Here in the state of Connecticut, we do have an agricultural experimental station, and we can drop off all the samples we want for free, and they will test them and get the results to us usually within 2 weeks. Your next best option is simply to find a commercial lab that does soil samples. Remember to look in the agricultural market space, not in the gardening space or the homeowner space. You need agricultural type lab to handle your samples. When you submit your soil samples for testing, they're going to ask you what you should compare it to. White oak or peach are the best options for that. Does your land drain enough? The simple fact is chestnuts do not like wet feet. To determine if your land drains well enough to sustain a chestnut orchard, we can take a few steps to figure it out. First off, go to Google Maps, bring up your property, and print off 3 copies of your field. After a hard rain, walk the field with a highlighter and circle anywhere the water is standing. Now simply wait 4 or 5 hours and do it again, and note if the standing water has receded much and mark it on a printout. 24 hours later, do it again. Walk your property with your maps and see if the water is still standing in those low spots. If it is still standing in those spots, you may have a problem. So now you want to do another test. 4 or 5 days after the last hard rain, you want to walk around with a shovel into those low spots on your map and dig a hole about 2.5 feet deep and pour in a full 5-gallon bucket of water. If that water is still standing in that hole within 24 hours, it's probably not the best location for chestnuts. On some properties, you may be able to get away with just planting the high spots and not planting the low spots. And you still get a fair number of trees in, but you're going to have to use your own judgment on that. Hilling up or mounding up around your chestnut trees often is not a good idea because your roots are still down low in the standing water, and root rot with chestnuts can be a real problem. Adding drainage to your field with corrugated pipe is not a good option because the roots will eventually clog up that pipe, but cutting swales through your field may be a better option.